I really like Sunday mornings, brothers. For some of you it means going to church. For others it means going pig hunting. When it's summertime like it is now, for me it means fishing quite often. And for my dogs, well, it just means chill on the farm and Poe. She's sniffing around for a rat, because there's a few rats in the pond here. She knows they're on the edges, you can see the holes where they've dug in. And she catches a few too. Old Nut, well, he's basically retired. I've just inherited him. In his day, he was a really good pig dog. He come from Kim Swan. He's actually been a professional dog in his day, a professional culling dog. I tell you what, if there's a rat there, she'll find it. But he's having a pretty good life now, Nut. He's got free range on the farm. There's a fence right around the outside, so he can't go anywhere. Yeah, it's a dog's life. Got to go right around the outside, just checking for any rats that might have survived. She's killed a lot here. Speaking of killing, these guys are just about due for it. They're actually overdue for it. Any rats there, Poe? Just about finished the whole pond, have you? No rats, mate? Good girl. Oh yeah, it's a dog's life on the farm, that's for sure. And just like a little shadow to me, he's always here. Aren't you, mate, eh? You're always close by. Of course, when we're hunting, it's a different story, then you're miles away. Hey, Nut. How you going, old fella? You alright, buddy? Good dogs. Good dogs. Old dog, eh? What we going to do with you, boy? What we going to do with you, eh? Good dogs. It's good dogs. Oh yes. Pretty good life, innit? Pretty good life. Hell yeah. What are we going to talk about today on the Broadcheck Club Dogs, eh? Maybe we should talk about friendship and loyalty. Because as far as that goes, I don't think a dog you could get any better or do any better. These guys will stand beside you even if you can't feed them. Hey, Poe. There's been times we've been stuck in the bush and you couldn't get any feed. You're not going to go away, are you? Not like a cat. Cat would be gone on a rocket. No, dogs are really loyal. Loyal beasts. And the pack's pretty chill these days. We've got no issues. We got rid of our issue, didn't we? It was old Bigsy. He was attacking everybody and probably had a brain tumour, according to my brother, one of my brothers. Yes, the life of a dog. Good morning, brothers, and the occasional sister joining us this morning, Sunday morning on the Broadcheck Club. By the duck pond, chilling out, enjoying the day, just being. Got up this morning early to go fishing. I looked outside and I thought, you know what? The body is exhausted. The body is tired. I've been working all week on my houseboat and in the garden, and I'm tired. So I'm just going to lie here. It was 6 o'clock, light, and I lay there in bed and I just contemplated life and the existence of being and thought, man, I'm still here after everything that's gone down. I'm still here, and I'm blessed to live another day. And there's been times where I've been fighting for my life, and now that I've got my life back, I'm living it. But there's people out there also that have got their lives that just aren't living it. There's people out there who've got their lives that are absolutely miserable in their existence. And maybe they need to have a near-death experience to appreciate the absolutely importance and how valuable and how precious life really is. I'm trying to find the right words, but I'm a wee bit stonked because there's not really a word for it to explain the absolute miracle of being here. The chances of being born human, I think it's 1 out of 300 billion or 400 billion, trillion. 1 out of 400 trillion, I think, is the number of being born a human being. You could have been born an earthworm, could have been born a dog. Wouldn't be so bad if you were born a dog and ended up on my farm, but you could have been born any number of things. But not only that, where you have been born, your birthright, the chance of being born in a place where you're free. During the pandemic, there was a lot of things which made people question their freedom, and Voices of Freedom was born, an organisation, because the mandates caused that. And whilst it was all going on, I was thinking to myself, and I've been around the world 13 times, and I was thinking about my brothers and sisters that were complaining about freedom in New Zealand, and I thought, you know, until you've lived in North Korea, or you've lived in central China, or any number of those countries where you just have virtually zero freedom, you don't know what freedom really is. This country, New Zealand, we are incredibly free. Now, I'm not discounting the fact that the mandates I personally think were almost verging on communism. I mean, they said you had a choice to get them or not, to get the jab or not, but you had no choice really, because many of us, our jobs depended on it, and people that didn't want to get something which was an experimental therapeutic intervention to something we didn't know a lot about, with no long-term studies and hard endpoints, it didn't make any sense to impose that on people, but it was imposed. So that there caused a question around freedom. For the first time, people started questioning it. And there are other little things that sneak in. But I can tell you right now, and I have travelled a lot, I've travelled extensively, and I have seen what it looks like to not have freedom, and we have freedom. I mean, look at me this morning. I'm walking around on a bit of dirt. Okay, it's taken me a lifetime to earn work to get it, but there's other countries where you couldn't even have the opportunity to do this, in places where you're never ever going to get out of poverty, where you're never ever going to have any opportunity. Go and have a holiday over just in the middle of China somewhere, or see if you can get into North Korea. Good luck with that, and see what it's like. And there's even places in Africa where your freedoms are really, really limited. There's a lot of places. No, we have a lot of freedom here. Go and live in Germany. I lived there 13 years. You want to go hunting? You know how hard it is to go hunting in Germany or Austria? You've got to pay. And you know what the hunting is? It's sitting in a bloody tree stand with a feeder that goes off waiting for a deer to come out and shoot it. That's not hunting. We have the freedom here in New Zealand to hunt where the hell we like. All you got to do is go to Department of Conservation and get a permit. Most of the dockland you're allowed to hunt in. Most of it. Most Department of Conservation land you can hunt in. In fact, they encourage it because there's nothing that predates naturally on the wild animals, because the introduced species are actually deemed a pest, whilst most of my friends and me is deemed as a food source and a resource. I think this new government is going to change that a little bit compared to what Labor had. Labor just wanted to kill the fuck out of everything that had four legs. But I think, hopefully, but watch that space. You know, politicians and their promises. I can remember old Winnie saying he was going to do away with 1080. That never happened when he got into power last time, so yeah. Not that I want to get onto the 1080 debate, because there's pros and there's twos and fours for that, and that's going down a rabbit hole. But let's just say that the promises of politicians are empty most of the time. I mean, the previous government said they were going to deal to mental health and really make a difference in New Zealand, and the most we got out was about 5 extra hospital beds for the billion that was spent. So these promises quite often all before pre-election, so wait and see. Anyway, point being is that we are very, very free in New Zealand, very free. And if you think you're not, go and spend a week in North Korea. Try and go through some of those countries and just do what you want, and see how quickly you find out your freedoms are very, very limited. So we've got all this freedom, but still we have a really high suicide rate. One of the guys working on my new shed here told me that a tradie kills himself once a day in New Zealand. It's 365 tradies, people in the trade, whether it's in the building, the plumbing, electrician, any sort of industry at all. That's a high rate of suicide. And that suggests it's mostly men doing it, because most of the tradies, the majority are men. So we've got all this freedom, but we still have a high rate of suicide and mental unwellness in our country. What would be the cause of that? What would be the cause? Well, I can tell you a number of things that I think for men particularly. One is love, finding love. And you might go, oh, come on, Clay. Today with the internet you can find love easy, just so many dating sites. But the thing is, it doesn't work. Because all the women out there think they're a 10 when they're a 5, and all the men out there think they're a bloody 5 when they're a 10. So you get these women that think they're 10s, and they're scrolling all day, and some young guy's got his profile up, and all these 5s going through scrolling, and they're looking for a 10. And so the guy might get one girl say, hey, let's meet for a coffee, out of 1,000 hits, or even 500 hits if he's lucky. And if he's somebody who's genetically blessed with good looks, and that's all he's got, well, he's going to get more hits, because women, just like us men, are superficial. Don't care what you say, they are. When it comes to a dating profile, if they see you really, really obese and you're a really lovely guy, chances are you're not even going to get a chance to even have that coffee with them. First thing they're going to go on is the square jaw, the big shoulders, and the whatever is it that ticks their boxes. And so a lot of guys end up scrolling and scrolling to try and find their girl, and they don't. And they don't learn how to form relationships like we did when I was younger. So there's one reason why a lot of men do. And then when they finally meet somebody somewhere, and it goes pear-shaped, men do not handle breakup anywhere near as well as women. They just don't. Guys struggle. I have seen so many men crumble when their partners have left them. I know all about what it feels like too. My partner pretty much abandoned me when I was really sick at the lowest stage of my life. Get up, boy. Know what it feels like. But I'm an old goat that's been around a lot of years, and I've learned to look after my emotions. And one thing I've always said is, if I'm going to survive, and I've survived some pretty harsh shit, there's no point in me being here just to be bloody miserable. So anything that gets thrown at me, I'm going to make the best out of it. I'm not going to just survive to be bloody miserable. So when the missus didn't want to bloody well be there when I was really crook, when she decided no, the relationship couldn't weather the storm, I didn't let that impact me on my heart as much as it might have had I been a young man. But that's just because I'm an old, like I said, an old goat that's been around for a lot of years, and I've learned how to, the heart's learned how to heal of it. Still cause the pain, but a lot of that pain for younger men can often be absolute disastrous for their life. And they can often end up being just so miserable that they can't see a way out of it, and often end up in a really dark place. And if you've lost someone that you really love, I'll tell you this right now, you will get over it, and love will come again. And if you're an older bloke like I was, and you're lonely, and you're needing some female company, let me rephrase that, you're needing some female company. You might not be lonely, you might be happy in your own space, but if you need some female company, the best thing you can do is start to look after yourself. Look after this bit of jelly between your ears, look after your body, look after your nutrition, look after your sleep. Take care of yourself, your personal hygiene, the clothes you wear, how you present yourself, and get out and do life. And just when you're doing life and you're really in a good place and you're positive, that's when they pop up. You ever notice how you got a girlfriend and suddenly there's like 3 or 4 wanting to go out with you? And when you haven't got a girlfriend at all and you're struggling, you just can't find anybody? And that's because when you've got a girlfriend, suddenly you're happy, but you're probably in a better place with your life anyway. And that there's just lifted that up more, and you become more attractive to women. Oh, I went down here to get some chicken feed and I forgot to bring my bag. I'll go back and get it. So there's ways to get out of that, to break that cycle of being miserable and alone. And that first of all starts with you taking care of you. And I say it in many videos, treating yourself like you'd treat a good mate. Just imagine you've got a real good mate, another bloke that you love, you care about, like a brother, like a close, your bestie. That guy there, you want the best for him, don't you? You want him to succeed in his job. You want your best mate to be healthy and well. You want him to have happiness. You want him to have love, and him to have someone that cares about him. You want him when he goes out hunting to bring home a good animal. You want him when he goes fishing to hear that he's had a good catch and he has had a good day with his other mates or with you. That's what you want from a good mate. That's what you've also got to want from yourself. So if you treat yourself like a good mate, then you want yourself to go out and catch the fish. You want yourself to go out and catch the pig or the deer, or you want yourself to have a really good time at doing anything. And you also wish yourself to have the best relationships. That starts being proactive with you being the best version of yourself you can be. And people will have all sorts of excuses. Oh, I'm too short, I'm too tall, I'm too fat, I'm too skinny, I'm too butt ugly, or it doesn't matter. That's all shit that you can change that. It's a perception. You might be, I mean, look at me. Today I'm so fat, I'm as skinny as a gum digger's dog. Through 2 diseases, I've lost 20 kilograms of my body weight. I used to be a sort of a strong 78 kilogram bloke. good physique, lean but good and strong. Through cancer and through heart disease, I'm now 55.5 kilogram, and I'm underweight through disease, and still by being underweight and being well enough to get back out, I quickly jumped back into life as soon as I could. As soon as the angina pain had gone, it took me about a year to arrest the disease through diet, and it took me probably another 6 months to start to really reverse it, where it was going backwards, where I was getting that vasodilation going on. But in that time, I kept on trying to do the best I could with what I had, and I didn't have much. I had no strength. I still don't have a lot. I'd lost a lot of muscle mass. I got loose skin where the body was dying in a way, and I was fighting to live. And when I got my health back and I started to get it back, I started, particularly when the angina stopped, and I did that all without medication. I did it solely with diet, and I needed to have a stent. I didn't have the stent. I said, no, I don't want that. And when I did that, by taking full responsibility, I didn't only take responsibility for my physical health, but I also took responsibility for my mental, emotional health. And this is like 6.5, 7 months ago. I put my kayak in the water. I thought, right, it's been a year and a month since I've been like this. I've stopped the disease process. I can breathe again now. I don't have the heart and chest pain. I'm going fishing. I still had a little bit of atrial fibrillation, but it was marginal. And I went out fishing, and every morning I take my kayak, put it on the truck, and go down to the beach, and I put in the water and I paddle out, and every day I get a little bit stronger. And it was hard. It was bloody hard. I had to motivate, and I was weak, and the body was still getting back, and still is getting back. And then I come in one day, and here's a woman camped in a camper van. She's parked up there, and she's by herself, and she looks about my age roughly. Turns out she's actually a little bit older, 3 or 4 years older, but there she is. And I thought, oh, she looks absolutely lovely. What a lovely person. Just had a lovely aura about her. She'd set up, she was contained, independent. That's always a real big turn on for me. Woman's independent. She looked like she didn't even need a bloke. She was all set up with a deck chair and a cup of tea. And I saw her when I went in the water, and I thought, now that's the sort of person I could get to know. I paddled out, and I caught snapper and a few fish. Had a good day. Kahawai actually, not snapper, from memory. And come back in, and she was still there. And I thought, I'm going to go and give her a fish. I'm feeling good of myself. I've been out. I've just had a real shitty time. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm going to go and say g'day and just give her a fish. Went over and gave her a fish, and she made me a cup of tea. She made me a cup of tea, and I had a fish, and I liked her. I thought, I like you. Didn't tell her I liked her because I'm useless to that sort of thing, but I felt like saying I liked her. But she was just being nice to me. And anyway, she told me that she would go to the Sunday market and have a stand sometimes here and sell all old stuff, and I thought that was cool. I thought, I've got a bit of old stuff around here I could sell actually. And I left, but I didn't get her phone number because I'm useless to that sort of stuff. I went home and I thought she was nice, positive. I liked her energy. And anyway, a couple of days later I went to the Sunday market, and there she was. I met her again. And I bought a chair that was impossible for fitting in the car that I had, and so it meant that she'd have to drop it off at my place, and she did. She come round here, and we talked, and I liked her even more. She left without me still getting a phone number. I thought, well, I've stuffed that up. Anyway, she hunted me down on Facebook, and the rest is history. So, point being, guys, is if you're alone and you're struggling and you're depressed and down, give yourself a good kick up the arse. Don't waste a fucking moment of your life. Don't be a victim. Doesn't matter what's happened to you. You might be in a wheelchair. You might be in a worse state than I was in. Doesn't matter. Get yourself out there. It's about your spirit and what you're doing that's going to make you attractive to a woman. And they will see you differently if you see yourself in that way. But you've got to be embracing life first, because nobody wants to be with somebody who's miserable. Unless it's somebody who just likes miserable people. Because there's that old saying, misery likes company, isn't there? And there are people that just want to sit around and, that's their buzz, that's their bag. Oh, life's terrible, folk, I've got this, I've got that, and they want to talk about it, and they want to go over it. And if that's what you're into, then go and find someone like that there. But that ain't my bag, and no excuses at all. So you go through your life and you actually create your own reality. You create what's going to happen by how you put out and how you take life by the balls and give it a damn good squeeze. Just going to fill this bag up with some feed. Whew, it's stinky and powdery. Anyway, the reason that you may be miserable has got a lot to do with that chemistry that's going on and that little bit of jelly between your ears. It's the chemistry. And guess what? Good news. You can change the chemistry. The trouble is that most people, for most part, and I'm guilty of having done it myself, try to change the chemistry by here, or glug, 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 or copious amounts of food. And that does change the chemistry. It spikes dopamine and makes you feel good for a moment, but the more you spike it, the harder it is for you to feel pleasure. The more you do it, the more you take away pleasure from yourself. When I was in Europe, I used to use cocaine as a way to feel good. Terrible drug. I've lost mates that have used it. I've seen the damage it does to people. And the worst thing it does is it makes you feel really, really good for a short time, and then afterwards you feel like shit. And if you keep on using it, like any drug or anything, getting that dopamine spike, you sooner or later have to come back down and face reality. And your reality is always worse when you come back down because you cannot feel pleasure. And then there's all the other drugs that we use every day that are the accepted ones. Got the jug morning for a cup of tea. Dandelion root tea. And of course coffee's a regular one we'll use. I use decaf because I don't want that caffeine, although there is a small amount in it. But for the best part, for me these days, it's herbals, and it's dandelion root today. Because just like you, if you've got an addiction, and I've had every addiction under the sun. I've been a cigarette smoker, I've done everything you can think of, and paid the price, of course. You do that shit long enough, and sooner or later, disease will take its grip one way or the other. You can't get away with it, and it's not just drugs, it's food. I've had food addictions, eaten way too much meat, way too much everything. I've been excessive. And that there's trying to get that feeling of something good going in. And that's very much an emotional thing, and you don't think about it. Excessive eating's like that there. Got to stop off and have a pie, and then got to have a sweet milkshake, and have another pie, and then go to KFC, and get that, and then get a Big Mac, and all that shit food, and all the other stuff too that I did when I was travelling. But also I've been the other extreme too. When I was working in Europe, I played 3,159 shows throughout Europe, mostly in Germany, and there I was on one meal a day because I was a workaholic. I was playing concert after concert, and I'd get one meal a day, and quite often that meal had no nutritional value hardly at all. It might have been half a chicken and some sauerkraut, and that was it. So for a lot of years I depleted myself of good nutrition. And you get to the end of your life, and I'm not at the end of my life by any means, because I intend to keep going for a bit longer yet, if I can. And you start to realise, well, now it's a little bit too late, but we're going to try to salvage this body because we like to be around for a bit more, and then start doing what I'm doing, which is a nutritional diet, which is high nutrition. Every calorie is fighting to find its place to get to make you well. So I make sure I don't eat any filler shit. I just eat all the good stuff, the good tucker. And I don't enjoy the diet one bit. Oh, there's aspects of it. That's not true. I'm exaggerating. Let me rephrase it. There's things about the diet that I really, really miss. The things I used to really love. That's it. That's what I should be saying. Because I can actually make some food taste pretty good. But you've really got to use your imagination when you're just living off a whole plant-based diet. And I do fish when I'm doing a primitive challenge, or go away, and I will do meat when I'm doing a survival course where there's nothing else to eat, because obviously you've got to have something going. But yeah, I'm in a completely different void now with life, and that's because of where life has pushed me. Now, other people I know that have been pushed in a similar direction are now either very, very sick or dead and not here anymore. I was talking to a bloke yesterday about all the people that I've been through on a journey with in the last 5 years, and there's not many of them left. Most of them are dead, or they're very, very sick or dying. We're all dying, and that's something that's going to happen to you and me and all of us. But dying good, that's another thing again. And I've decided that when my time comes, it's going to be on my own terms. I'm just going to do it by stop eating and stop drinking, and I'm going to do it at home with someone I love. But that's going to be way, way in the future, and that's something which is, I'm only going to do that if I'm only saying this if I'm suffering like I have with cancer. If it's that painful and I can't get through it. But otherwise, I hope to just die comfortably in my sleep. That would be great, wouldn't it? That would be a beautiful way to die. And maybe I get blessed with a death like that. That would be a blessing in itself. But for the best part, a lot of people die alone. They die in hospitals or palliative care. A hospice would be a good place to die, where you're getting the right care, but you really don't want to be isolated. You want to be around people you love. But for the best part, a lot of people have terrible deaths. One of my close mates, he was a knife maker, and every day he'd call me saying, my pain today's a 9, today my pain's a 10. And he was suffering so much towards the end. And for him, a lot of it came down to diet. He just couldn't give up the bloody chocolate fish and a whole lot of other things he was sticking in his mouth. And I tried to tell him, but that was his choice and his journey. We've all got to make it. So even going towards the end of your life, you want to treat yourself like you treat a good mate. A good mate. So if you're miserable, and your existence is miserable, and you're really, really struggling, the first thing you have to understand is that it's got nothing to do really with the situation that you're in. It's got everything to do with how you're interpreting the situation you're in. If you're somebody who's stuck in a wheelchair, and I'm not just talking about anybody specifically, because I know there's about 13 guys in the Broadcheck Club that have different disabilities, and that they're guys that I know of. Daniel Clark, who's reached out, but there's a few other who've asked to remain anonymous, just because they don't want their... Well, actually, Jared Pearce is another one who's open about it. And Jared's actually a really good example of somebody who's had a pretty hard one thrown at him. He's lost the use of his legs, and he's one of my most supportive patrons. Not only does he financially contribute to the work that I do, but he also sends things, but he also gives his comments and his counsel and helps me out with stuff. He's a hunter like me. And I've got his sticker on the front of my truck, actually. I'll show you. He sent me some shirts. He sent me lots of stuff. He's been such an awesome bloke. Here we go. Down here, that's from Gerard. That one there, I'm pretty sure that was from you, mate. That's from him. And oh, there we go. Look, there's his business right there. So take a screenshot of that if you want to get hold of Gerard. Good bastard. Point being though is he's not sitting around going, oh, I'm stuck here in this wheelchair and I can't do shit. He's out living life. He's making himself a big man in our community. He's helped me to help lots of other young guys. His contribution has gone a long way to me helping young fellas that I take out and look after. And he's just one of the many good bastards who's got his own challenge. And speaking of people in wheelchairs, I was hunting a few years ago and I met this guy, Ben. He was in his truck, he was out hunting, he's in a wheelchair. And I got talking to him a bit later and he said, I went out by myself the other day. I said, how'd you get on, mate? I was thinking, what are you going to do? He goes, well, dog's got a pig down the gully. I said, what'd you do? He said, well, I dragged myself down there on my hands. I went, what? I said, do you not have somebody with you? I don't know what the situation was, but I don't think he did. Or that or his mate was far away. Stuck the pig, crawled up with his hands, stuck it, and then dragged himself and the pig back up the hill on his own hands. Now, that's extreme, and I wouldn't recommend it because you put yourself at huge danger, but then again, it's his life and his choice, and he's a pretty bloody cool guy. I got a lot of respect for him, actually. He's certainly not sitting around at home going, oh God, I can't use my legs, I can't go hunting. He's just going hunting. He's got a bunch of mates he goes out with quite regularly. Good bastards. Yeah, I've run him in the bush, and he's got good dogs. Well, he did have back then. Haven't seen Ben for a while. It's not what's happened to you, it's how you interpret what's happened to you and how you make the best out of what you've got left. It's about the glass being half full all the time, not half empty. And that comes down to a personal choice when you wake up in the morning. You wake up and you can go, well, I can go over this that happened in the past and feel miserable about it. I can't change it. I can't change the things I've done and what's happened, so better move on. Or you can sit there and you can ponder all day about how bad it was in the past, and that way you're never going to move into your future and you're going to be robbed of your present right now. That's a mindset thing, and it's something only you can tackle. Only you can be proactive at it. No one else is going to help you. No one's going to hold your hand or kick you up the bum. You might come out hunting with me and you might get a kick up the bum for a couple of days every young fella to get motivated, but ultimately it's your choice in the end. All of us have to choose. For some people it's so difficult they can't, and so they turn to drugs or alcohol or God or something that's going to come along that they can hand over the responsibility. And God would be a lot healthier thing to hand it over to than drugs, I can tell you. But ultimately, the choice comes down to you. And if you want to talk about God in this situation, in this conversation, let's just say that God helps those who help themselves. That means you've still got to help yourself. So, brothers, if you are in a shit place, if you are feeling miserable and life is feeling real shit, understand that that's because of what you're doing and how you're processing it, and you have the power, you have the ability to turn it around. First thing it starts off with is shaping motivation, creating self-discipline within yourself, is enforcing upon yourself self-discipline. Because without that discipline, you're not going to get out of bed, you're not going to put that kayak in the water at 5 a.m. in the morning, or you're not going to stick your boots on at 3 a.m. to go hunting and be in the bush on first light, or you're not going to be motivating yourself to do anything other than sit around scrolling on your phone, looking at someone else's life go by. Scrolling on your phone is very unhealthy. What you're doing is you're trying to get dopamine. You're trying to get a buzz. You're looking at someone else, a sexy girl, a guy catching something, something going crazy, something amazing, but it's happening all the time, and all it's doing is it's flooding the brain with dopamine, giving you a buzz, but then it's making it more impossible for you in your real life, your real existence, to go out in this world and have fun, to go out and find that woman, to go out and catch that deer, to go out and catch that fish, to go into the forest and discover that cave that's hidden somewhere, or that tree hut that some kids built that looks awesome, and look up there and there's somebody up there, there's a kid, g'day mate, how you going? There's some boys up there and you have a big laugh about it. The little wee things that happen, if you're sitting at home, none of those things are going to happen. I only use that as an example because that happened to me about 5 years ago. I was walking down Richmond, I saw there's a tree hut up there. Oh, it's got curtains. Gee, that looks good. I was looking up there, this little tree hut, looking up there. And I see a little face pop around. It's a kid. It's like, puts his head back, he's hiding, he puts back up. I said, g'day. They built it in a place where they weren't allowed to build a tree hut, so they were like worried I was going to find out about it. I just gave them some tips on how they could camo it up more so no one would find it, moved on my way. But that's the sort of things you see when you're in places. If I'd been lying at home depressed, I haven't got anybody, I never would have taken the kayak, put it in the water and gone out and meeting Judy. I'd still be, maybe sitting at home bloody scrolling. Actually haven't done that for years. Not that I think that that's another thing. I think there's a lot of men, particularly young men, that masturbate and look at pornography all day, and that there is just another form of dopamine that's been raised for a moment, but they're never learning the art of engaging a woman, having a true relationship, because there's all these gorgeous women online they can whack off to, and they're not actually doing the natural thing, which would be to embrace that person, get up and engage in that person. How you going? My name's Clay. I met you a few weeks ago, and I liked you. I wanted to catch up with you again, and you talk, and that doesn't happen online when you're looking at pornography. I'm actually quite grateful that pornography wasn't around when I was a young man. The most it was a grubby penthouse, centre page. And even that was hard to buy because you couldn't get them till I think you were 18 or something. I remember nicking the old man had one. He had one magazine when I was a tiny little kid. I found it down in the basement. This little grubby little magazine, and looking at it and seeing these women's boobs, thinking, oh, jeez, I must have been about 10. I thought I'd just fallen into heaven for a moment. And I'd stick that book back. I was only 10 years of age. Didn't really know quite what it was I was looking at. Yes, I did. I knew what I was looking at, but I didn't really know what it all meant. I knew that it was interesting and fun, but that was probably the height of my pornography as a child, growing up. And of course, I wasn't supposed to see it. Going from those developing years, I grew up in a time where it was actually a good time. It was healthy because you go to dances and you meet a girl. You ask her out, you go on dates. But today it's all changed because of social media, and there's not that same thing. Maybe I'm just an old guy rattling on about the good old days, and maybe these are the good old days right now for young people. Maybe it's not a bad thing, but we certainly didn't have the high rate of suicide and depression in New Zealand back then. So I don't know. We still had it. We still had suicide. And we still had depression, but I don't remember it being such a big thing. Anyway, these thoughts and these words on this Bro Check Club video today, as I'm going about my day, just having a cup of tea now, are only mine. I'm always prepared to be wrong, guys. Always prepared to be corrected by you. Always prepared to have you say, hey Clay, I don't agree with this, and then put it down below, because this is just an open It's an open community for brothers to talk about stuff, charge ideas, crunch numbers, crunch ideas, think about solutions to problems, and try and make the world better for each other. That's not such a bad thing to do, is it? Nothing venture, nothing gain. And then we're all going to die one day anyway, so it doesn't bloody matter what you say if it's wrong, so long as when somebody corrects you, that you go, oh yes, you're right, and it helps somebody. So don't be afraid to make a mistake. I'm never afraid to make a mistake. Doesn't matter. What we're doing here is we're just connecting up, shooting the shit, and catching up on each other too, making sure we're all okay. And if we're not okay, trying to help the brother out. So check on a brother, check on yourself. First of all, check on yourself, then check on a brother. It's a bit like in the airplane when the oxygen mask falls down. You stick it on yourself first before you stick it on your child. Same thing applies. And go steady, and I'll see you next Bro Check Club video. See you later.